Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Crowd Surfing. This is a show in which we take a look at Kickstarter and the board games and tabletop games that are available on it, talking about some opinions and things like that. But as always, we start with what you're probably most interested in. What's on Kickstarter right now? Well, here's some projects to take a look at. Okay, so first of all, we have Thug Life. This is a new one. It's the first game this publisher has done. They call it a Take That game. It says 17 plus, you know, like the grimy and guts. It says Thug Life, but the thugs in it don't look tremendously realistic. Like they're like what people who think thugs are. I don't know. You're trying to get 13 respect. It has stand-ups. You can upgrade to a miniatures. The art is, I don't know, this one just has no appeal to me. I don't want to be a bunch of thugs running around living the thug life, but I guess some people do want it. Then we have Call to Adventure. Now this one's interesting. This one's from Brotherwise Games. I really have no experience with Brotherwise Games other than their game Boss Monster, which I was not a fan of at all. But a game that, even though I don't really like it, has done tremendously well. Well, now they have this Call to Adventure game, which has really gorgeous art. You're going through a story. Instead of dice, you're using runes. The game does not look that complicated, and it actually looks very interesting. But what really caught my eye is that they have an expansion for this from the book series In the Name of the Wind. And if the game is successful, which it is, then next year they'll have another expansion for Stormlight, which, as we all know, is the greatest fantasy series ever written. I'm very intrigued. I hope it's good, because Stormlight was hard for me to imagine that even being made into a game, or In the Name of the Wind for that matter. But again, I don't have anything to judge Brotherwise with other than their first game, but we'll have to take a look and see how this one works out. Caverns Deep. This is from Dwarven Forge. I've gotten much of their terrain over the years. I use it for Descent and other campaign games. I just love their terrain, although the biggest use of it is my kids playing with it and building things. So now they have caverns and trees and things like that. It seems like it's getting more expensive as time has gone by. I've not really backed this one yet. I'm thinking about it, but probably not. But I will say I love this terrain because you can literally throw it at the wall and it will be okay. Trogdor, the board game. This is from the Homestar Runner website. This is something I didn't know much about, but I'm told is extremely popular. Trogdor, the Burninator dragon. You are walking around burning things down with tiles and things like that. Designed by James Ernest, so that's interesting to me. This is the first from that company. It is making a lot of money. Is that because the game is good or the theme? I suspect the theme, but that doesn't mean the game will be bad. Dragon Dice, Swamp Stalkers. Now, Dragon Dice is an old game that a company is keeping in print. In fact, I saw them at Gen Con just recently showing off the game. It's a fairly complex dice rolling game. And this is the first time it's been to Kickstarter, but you can get starter sets and stuff like that. I can't tell you how it works. The one time I tried to mess with Dragon Dice, I could not get through the fairly convoluted rules. But people who like the game a lot are like enthralled by it, but they are a very small subset. Era of Kingdoms is another first-time Kickstarter. This is a card-laying game. Looks like using cards and playing them and maybe attacking the other player, but also laying them for resources. I like this idea of laying cards on a grid. That kind of appeals to me, but I don't know much more about this company or where it's coming from, so I'm just basically looking at it. And I would pass on this one, I think, because it's not like jumping off the page at me, but I don't know. If placing cards in strategic ways, maybe it will work well. Gloomhaven player mats. All right, well, I've gotten these Gloomhaven player mats, and I've tested them, and I think they're pretty neat. This is from Quiver. Quiver makes a lot of different mats for tables. These Gloomhaven player mats are basically for you to put all your cards. If you played Gloomhaven, you know you got cards and different decks and different equipment, and this lets you store it all out. I really like these. It's a nice way to organize everything. The only thing I don't like about these are the health and experience counters, because as you're moving cards around, they're really easy to knock off those tracks. I think I like them more maybe if there was indentations in the mat where you could put the things so they don't move. This seems like to be like the Achilles heel of Gloomhaven, because their first trackers weren't that great. The second edition, they're better, but still not perfect. And this doesn't seem to fix the problem either. But other than that, they really are cool. I really like them. I'll always use them. AEG is doing another Thunderstone quest, Back to the Dungeon. This is a lot of the stuff that was in the first Thunderstone Quest. It was extremely popular. People are really loving this third edition of the deck building game. This one's going to add a few more things. It's going to add a cooperative version in their barricades mode. It's going to add a 6 quest, What Lies Beneath, which is made to work with the co-op mode, but can be used otherwise. And stretch goal after stretch goal, there's going to be lots of monsters and stuff. So if you miss it the first time around, you can jump in and get the stuff. And if you did get the first time around, there's more stuff, goodness for those of you who like it, which I am included with. Colossal Micro is a new company that's like a subsection of Colossal Games. This is for their smaller games. Not really sure why there's 2 different ones. But anyway, Terror of London. In this game, in which almost every preview of this game shows the people going, pretending they're scared. So yes, you're a scary overlord, and it's a deck building game. And you're going to be adding, you're trying to get the monsters from different factions to join you, make some combos. There's a technique or game mechanism about hoarding. It proclaims to be different than other deck builders, and the reviews are fairly positive, or previews, I guess, are fairly positive across the board. The second time launch here of Kalas, not Kalis, that's a different game, Kalas or Kalas. This is a game from Hong Kong in which you're building a little kingdom. There are dice cards. You're going to be attacking and moving across with miniatures and stuff. Doesn't look fantastic. I might be wrong. I'm glad to be proven wrong. It looks like kind of like a game that I would have been like, woo, this is great when I was a teenager and thought to put it together myself. I'm hoping it's better than that. The artwork is fine. It looks a little generic. But the gameplay, there's nothing about it that stands out to me. Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded. Yes. This game from Richard Launius is a game in which you are fighting zombies. I'm not a big zombie fan, but this is one of my favorite zombie games. Might even be my favorite zombie game, in which you're basically rolling dice Yahtzee styles. Zombies are moving towards you. This game was originally came out from Sixth Sense, the game from Jason Maxwell, and now Gray Fox has it, and they're doing a fantastic job at it. The new stuff looks great. Gray Fox does a really fantastic job on their games, and it looks like they've updated the rules and things like that, and so I'm really pumped about trying it out. But wait, there's even more. I'm here to promote you guys to please back this game. It's a great party game. It's not funding as of me recording this, but I love But Wait, There's More. This is But Wait, There's Even More, which is a standalone expansion. In this game, you are selling things, and so you're picking something and you're trying to sell it to everybody, and then you flip a card over, you're like, but wait, there's more, and you turn it over and you have no idea what it is, and you need to incorporate that into your pitch. I love it. It's super fun. Now, there is the Too Hot for TV expansion included here with naughty words and woo. I don't know why every party game has to feel like they need to go down that route, but even without that, this is a pretty cool, one of my favorite party games. War of Supremacy. This is another one that's on for the second time. This has combos. The cards look really cool, and you're collecting them. There's no mana. You're just putting cards out. They say there's a big King of the Hill aspect to this. Everyone's fighting. They're like, that's what makes it unique. It's like, well, there's a lot of games that do King of the Hill, but whatever. Moonshiners of the Apocalypse. All right, well, this is about, you're a sheriff of a town at night, or a town after the apocalypse, going around, or you're a hero at night. Bands of drunk people are swarming around. You got to beware of them. It's a town building 4X game, dice combat. It's really doing well on Kickstarter. A lot of people must like this theming of it. It looks interesting. At first I was like, that sounds idiotic. And then I went through, read and looked at it. I was like, maybe I would back this one. All right, well, those are the projects that I found interesting this time. Let's keep moving.
Hey folks, and welcome to another Fomo, the segment where I take a look at a game that's currently seeking crowdfunding right now, and I'm not sure if I have a fear of missing out on this game, and maybe you're in the same boat. Well, today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm just getting back from Gen Con, and so I didn't really have a lot of time to sit and take a full look at things. But I did have some exciting things when I got back, and that is what I'm going to do today instead, is I'm going to do a Fomo rewind. So before, in the past, I've covered a couple games, such as this one here, Western Legends, and now I have my hands on an actual production copy, and I am blown away. Now, I was really high on the game to begin with, but seeing the actual actual game in my hands was everything I imagined to be, and I've got to play it, and it's still the same experience, and I really love it. And I love some of the things that were included in it that I didn't get to see, such as this, the little general store stand where you store the cards. And the miniatures in the game are incredible. I'm really looking forward to painting those. So this game, it was a FOMO for me, and I'm glad that I didn't miss out on it. Another game that I got my hands on that I previously covered was Root. And this was a game that I at first was a little nervous about, but when I covered it in my original segment, I really did enjoy this game. It's the same people, the same company that did Vast. And I liked Vast, but I said in the original overview of it that I liked this game a lot better, and that still holds true. I still like this game a lot better. The production quality on it is amazing. This is definitely, if you missed the Kickstarter on it, this is a game worth looking at now that it's coming out to retail. It helps that I also got a little plushie to go with it for the little character in it. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but it is quite adorable. So those are the ones that I got in. Now, beyond that, I'm going to talk about a few things that I'm going to be taking a look at in some upcoming FOMO episodes. The next episode, we're going to be looking at a game called Infinity's Defiance of Fate that I now have set up, and I've got to play one game of it. I really enjoyed it. It's got a little 4X light sort of thing going on, set in space, and I'm going to save my thoughts on it. But so far, I'm really enjoying this one, and I look forward to sharing my thoughts on that one. I'm also going to be looking at Infamous pretty soon here, coming from Eagle Griffin Games. This is a game where you're going to be recruiting some henchmen and doing some crime, and I'm really looking forward to this. I haven't got to play it yet. The copy just came in before I left for Gen Con, but I did get to look at it during Origins, and for what I saw, it was something that I definitely want to take a look at. So that's going to be this one here. In addition, I'm not going to leave you hanging on talking about a game that is crowdfunding right now, and that game is going to be Terrors of London. Now, I'm not going to go through an overview of the game because I actually did the how to play video for this one. So if you go to their Kickstarter page, you'll see there that I did a full how to play on it, and in fact, Mark Street has also done a Kickstarter preview of that game here. But I really do like this game. It does feel a little like Star Realms, Hero Realms, things like that, but I enjoy this so much more. Now, a lot of it has to do with the theme. I love the horror theme of the game, and the artwork in this game is amazing. But overall, traditionally, I don't like deck builders very much, but I really did enjoy this one because it felt different. It didn't feel so much as I was deck building as it was more deck accumulating, is a good way to put it. So I really, really did like that. And I am going to give you my FOMO scores for that game, so that way you have that on there. But if you want to know more about how that game plays, go ahead and head over and check Mark Street's preview, or check out my how to play, or just their Kickstarter page. But it's definitely a game that I think you're going to want to not miss out on if you're into the theme, if you like deck building. That's all I've got for this week, for this episode, and I hope that that's at least given you something to think about. And I'm going to start going through some other Kickstarters that I took a look at Gen Con, and I look forward to seeing you folks in the next episode.
Okay, so we just got back from Gen Con, and here and around me and all the spots in this room you can't see, there are piles and piles of games. And some of the games that we got are Kickstarter games that are finally being fulfilled. And when we showed off that we had some of these games to talk about, there was a bit of blowback. And as blowback happens, I've seen Kickstarter creators go and answer things. They're like, hey, we're about to send out the games to people, but do you mind if we send them out to some reviewers first? And some people say yes, some people say no. Now, I think yes. Okay, and you say, Vasel, that's super self-serving. Of course you want to get your games early. Well, I say yes, but for a couple reasons. One, the reviewer needs as much time with the game as possible to do a good review of the game. Just because I get a game now, it's going to be put onto a pile with hundreds of other games, and it's not going to get reviewed right away. So the earlier a reviewer gets it, the better. But more importantly, if you're backing a Kickstarter, I assume that for all intents and purposes, you want that company to succeed. Now, that does not mean that's always the case. A lot of people just back games because they want the game. But if you want the company to succeed, wouldn't you want them to get one of their early copies to reviewers who can then spread the word so that after the Kickstarter, then other people will hear about the game and buy the game. And then after that, the company can then produce more games like the one that you've got and that you hopefully will like. I know it seems like forever till companies get the games out. And for that, I would just tell you to follow my thing where I back something, then forget about it. And when it comes, it comes. That's what I do. But I know this will come across as, again, a bit of a self-serving thing. Like, yes, reviewers should get them first. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. There are many times that most Kickstarters we do not get review copies of. And I know this because there's about 30 to 40 Kickstarters that are finishing every week, and we do not get 30 to 40 Kickstarter games. We get only a few of them. There are many big Kickstarters that finish, and we never see those games at all. So we're not doing it because we want more games. No, but we do want to take a look at Kickstarter games because we want to say this game is good or not. Before the Kickstarter, there's all sorts of hype. There's everyone saying the game is fantastic and oh, we should get it. If we get it, we get all these stretch goals and all this. After the campaign, that hype is completely gone. There's no more, if a lot of people buy it, we'll get more stretch goals. There's no more, we can get just one more miniature in it. No, at this point, the game is complete. And that's when I'm most interested in it because I want to say, hey, you can buy this game in a store or online from the company or someplace, you can get this game. Is it worth your time or not? And then we can look at it and see. And I think that's a really important thing. Sure, saying that reviewers are important, again, is kind of like a, hey, yeah, we are. But they are important. I know that when I'm interested in the game, I want to know what reviewers have said about it. So I don't think you should get upset at a company for getting the reviewers the games first because you would want that game to do exceedingly well afterwards. And then everyone can enjoy the same thing you do.
This is Jamie with Stonemeyer Games, and today I'm going to talk about how to involve retailers in your Kickstarter campaign. Some of the reasons why you might want to involve retailers in your campaign is A, you keep them happy. Retailers traditionally haven't liked Kickstarter campaigns because they take business away from the games that they could sell in their stores. So if you involve them in your campaign, they might be happier and more willing to work with you in the future. Two, the more retailers involved, the more backers involved, really, the more funding that you'll have for your project, and the better, hopefully through stretch goals, you can actually make your product. And last, the more people involved in your project, the more buzz you can build. Retailers, this is one of the reasons that retailers actually like Kickstarter campaigns, because they bring a lot of attention to a game in a short amount of time. I'm going to go over a lot of stuff real quick here. If you want more information, check out my Kickstarter Lessons blog. First thing is, contact retailers about a week or before the Kickstarter campaign begins or a few days into the campaign. Just let them know the project exists. Two, I recommend using two different methods for letting retailers pledge to your campaign. One is to offer a pledge level that offers the number of games that can fit into a carton, unless they're really small games, and then you might just want to say 5 games, 3 games, 5 games. But usually between 4 and 6 games will fit into a carton if they're bigger games, like the ones you see on my shelf back there. And so you could have a reward level for that number of games, but it's essentially a group reward level. Anyone can pledge to it. Then have a separate note somewhere on the project page that says if you're a retailer and you want to pledge for 10 copies of the game at a special retailer price, which would be slightly below the Kickstarter price, contact me directly. Use that instead of having a pledge level for that 10 unit reward. One guideline I give to retailers if they choose to opt into that 10 reward level, especially since they're getting a discounted price, is that they don't undercut you, the creator, during the campaign itself. So if you have a reward that's $50 on the campaign for most backers and you offer it to retailers for $37, say, you tell those retailers, you're free to sell it. Even during the campaign, you can bring in backers through your store at whatever price you want, but you can't go lower than $50 during the campaign because otherwise they're undercutting you, backers that could be going directly to you. But in general, that's still a good thing if retailers are bringing in more backers. If a retailer ends up pledging for 10 copies because they brought in 10 customers to get the game through them, that's also a good thing. I typically only accept retailer pledges during the campaign. I found that retailers often try to add 1 more copy or 3 more copies or 4 more copies on and on for like weeks and months after the campaign, which can be okay if that's part of your strategy. Some creators allow for long-term late pledges. I usually limit it because I need to start printing the games right after the campaign ends, and I need to know how many to make, exactly how many to make. Let's see. Oh, and one last thing. Retailers sometimes struggle with cash flow. So one thing that you can offer to retailers is they can pledge to your campaign now for the price that you give to retailers, or they can pay the amount that they owe you at a higher price. So they have to pay essentially a small penalty for paying late, much closer to when you ship the game to them. I found that not too many retailers will accept this option, but the ones who do really appreciate it because maybe they're having cash flow problems right now. And so giving them that late option with an early commitment, they still have to commit during the campaign, but they can actually pay later, can often help them. I have found that a few of them just won't pay at all, but then if they don't pay, you don't send them the game, so you don't lose anything there. There's a lot of stuff here. If you have any questions, go to my blog, ask me questions there. I'm happy to answer them. Thanks.
Hey folks, Mark here, and welcome back to another Dice Tower preview recap. We recently took a look at some new projects on Kickstarter. Now, these are paid previews, and it's our hope that we can give you a real sense of each game. First up, we have Radiant Offline Battle Arena. Radiant is a 1 vs 1 draftable shuffle building card game that brings the popular multiplayer online battle arena, otherwise known as MOBA, video game genre to the tabletop. In this one, the player selects 3 different heroes, then shuffles each of those hero decks together to create their main deck, which will then be utilized to compete against their opponents. The players then use the heroes to move around the different lanes of the board to outplay and outmaneuver their opponent with goal of defeating their opponent's deity to claim victory. Radiant is for 2 players, playtime is around 20 to 50 minutes, and is brought to you by Heel Turn Games. Next up, we have Terrors of London. Terrors of London is a competitive deck builder with a Victorian horror theme. Each player will assume the role of an overlord, each with unique ability and unique influence cards. Throughout the game, players will add monsters from 4 different factions. You have beasts, mortals, spirits, and the undead to their decks, all of which can form hordes for powerful combos. You will also procure marvelous relics, which you can immediately use for their unique abilities. The first player to reduce their opponent's life to 0 wins the game and claims the night. Terrors of London is for 2 to 4 players. Playtime is around 20 to 40 minutes and is brought to you by Colossal Games. Next, we have PopCap Fighters. Unleash the fury in this fun, turn-based strategic card game that captures the essence of a fighting video game into a tabletop experience, where players will fight against each other in 1 vs 1 cat fights or in a 2 vs 2 dynamic duo modes. Become the PopCat champion using cards like hits, directional, and move enhancers to scratch out as many of your opponent's 9 lives as possible. With fast action battles, moves, and counter moves, be the first one to knock out your opponent's health bar to win the game. PopCap Fighters is for 2 to 4 players, playtime is around 20 to 90 minutes, and is brought to you by NinjaBot. Lastly, we have Hellenica, Story of Greece. Hellenica is a civilization game in which you harness the power of one of 7 beginning city-states to dominate the world around you. Your goal is to become the preeminent symbol of Greece for all posterity by completing a combination of secret and public goals. Will you be remembered as a warmonger or as a peaceful philosopher? Great priest or apostle? Will you develop a devotion to the gods or focus on the advancement of your people? Can you guide your civilization during these turbulent times? Will you be remembered for all time, or will you merely be a stepping stone for others? Hellenica is for 1 to 7 players. Playtime is around 120 to 180 minutes and is brought to you by Mr. B Games. Also, I thought I'd take this opportunity to tease an upcoming project that we're going to be doing for CMON, upcoming Dice Tower preview, which is Starcadia Quest. Sam and I got to experience this one at Gen Con, And if you like the Arcadia Quest line, this is one to not miss. Starcadia Quest is an all-new standalone campaign game for 2 to 4 players. The dastardly Supreme Commander Thorn is looking to control the galaxy, and each player leads a crew of 2 heroes flying through space on a quest to defeat him. While they share the same goal, the different crews are not exactly in league with one another. They will compete as much with each other as they do with Thorn and his army. Players choose the direction their campaign takes, following different branching paths, each with their own unique experiences along the way. They must choose which opportunities to pursue and which ones to leave behind, a decision that can have serious consequences later in the campaign. Starcadia Quest takes place in a remote galaxy, a galaxy filled with aliens, lasers, treasures, and rugged heroes, ready to take on anything. It's coming to Kickstarter August 28th, so keep an eye out for this one, folks, and watch for our Dice Tower preview. So for more details on each of the games mentioned here, please check out our full previews and see if these games might be a good fit for you. And if you're interested in having your game featured as a Dice Tower preview, please reach out to Tom or myself. And keep an eye out for more previews in the near future. We're going to be doing many more. There's lots coming up. All right, folks, until next time, we'll see you at the table.
And that's it for another crowd surfing. Thanks to all the guys who made the segments. Thank you guys for watching. We are now in the full bloom of the summer. Lots of big Kickstarters happening now. Of course, that's kind of something I say all the time, no matter where we're at. But this is the time that a lot of Kickstarters are also being delivered. So if you have a good one being delivered and you want to tell people about it, tell us in the comments. Say, hey, this Kickstarter delivered and it's fantastic. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. And you've been watching Crowd Surfing on the Dice Tower.